Out I was going to be talking to you. I do what I always do. I started checking out your music, and I've really been enjoying what I'm hearing.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. Well, I'm really glad you didn't like run screaming from the room or anything.
Not at all, not at all. I I want you to take the lead, though. What do we? You have some new music out.
Yeah, we do. With the pandemic and everything, we put out a single in 2019. My band, Zach Bair Band, put out a single called Rutherford Drive, and it was the first one that I'd done in quite some time. And it really kind of it went over pretty good. I was inspired at that point maybe to do some more. And between that time period, we lost a young lady from one of my venues to suicide, unfortunately. And I'd written a song a long time ago called Ordinary Girl for a woman who was considering suicide, but fortunately we were able to keep her from following through with that. And I really started thinking seriously about doing Ordinary Girl again. And the pandemic hit, and big window of time opened up. Not necessarily what you want to happen, but it did afford us the opportunity to get into the studio and work with Skid Mills, who's a Grammy-winning producer. He's worked with bands like Saving Abel and Three Doors Down and a bunch of really cool bands. So really lucky that he had time to do this. And we got Ordinary Girl done and the rest of the EP, which is 5 songs plus a remastered version of Rutherford Drive. And that came out in time for us to partner with the National Foundation for Suicide Prevention and offer up 20% of the proceeds to the foundation for the sales and downloads of the record and of the single. So it's pretty exciting. It's getting some traction, and I really like what we've done, and I hope people who listen to it like it. And there's a message there that I hope they appreciate the message as well.
Well, I think it's very timely. What a great cause. And with the pandemic, as I understand, there's a lot of depressed people, lonely people abusing substances. And,
Yeah.
It's a very sad time for many. So,
Yeah,
so this, it could be brilliant timing just to get the message out or to remind people there's a place to turn or people to talk to.
Yeah, it's a problem that's not going to go away, and with people being sequestered to their homes and many people not having, any family or close friends or anything like that around them, they can really fall deeper into that depression state. So it's more important now than ever to reach out to your friends that you think might be in need and just make sure that they don't have thoughts like that. And of course, foundations like the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention have resources that can help. And, there's people out there that want to reach their hand out and help. So, hopefully this message will come across and maybe we'll save a few lives.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of Animal House Radio for getting this message out there. It's a
Absolutely.
difficult subject to bring up in the best of times. You don't want to maybe hurt somebody's feelings and bring it up, but it really needs to be discussed and information available.
Yeah, I think I was told that you guys are carried on the Armed Forces Network. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, which is very cool. I'm ex-military. I am a veteran and was in the Air Force, and I was on what was called the EST team, one of the first ones in the country at the time at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana, which is basically a SWAT team.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was fun. I had a good time, and I learned a lot from that experience, and I have a lot of respect for folks in the military. In fact, we hope our band is able to go out and do USO tours and things like that at some point.
Yes.
But I think that the problem is also prevalent in the military. Especially with veterans coming home and being in rough shape with PTSD and everything else, and there needs to be plenty of resources available to help get folks repatriated and the help that they need.
Yeah. You know what, Zach? It's funny you said that because I got a lot of disturbing stats about PTSD, and the homelessness
Oh,
of
yeah.
veterans is a disgusting percentage, even non-pandemic. But now during this
Yep.
pandemic, it skyrocketed. And it's funny you said the Air Force, because one of the gentlemen that oversee the program and is a big our show and is a big supporter of the show he's a former 3-star general from the Air Force.
Oh, that's awesome.
His name
That's
was
awesome.
Lieutenant General Jerry Martinez. He was the commander for U.S. forces in Japan, and he's a huge. We just actually, he was my
Very
co-host
cool.
yesterday, and we did a MASH reunion with Loretta
Oh,
Swit and Jamie Farr.
you were kidding me. Oh my
No,
God.
No, no.
yeah,
You can
Oh,
find it.
oh.
It's on the pages.
I
on
wish
the
I
Animal House
could. Wish I
Radio
could have
page.
popped into that one, man. I love that. I love MASH, and I love.
You have an open door anytime you
Yeah,
want
put
to
them on
come.
the list for next time.
Dude, that's really cool, man. Well, I mean, I really, people don't understand how difficult it is. I mean, I was really fortunate that when I was in, I didn't really get deployed to any like real war zones or anything like that. But I had plenty of friends who had been, and it leaves you in a different place, mentally and emotionally, and coming home and being able to, in some cases, like in the Vietnam War, with just the craziness that they came back to back then, now more than ever, these guys need our support and outreach, and I just think it's a great thing to, especially that you guys are out there and have the military audience. I mean, I have nothing but respect for our military, and in hindsight, I probably should have stayed in longer. I stayed in 4 years. But it was enough for me to understand and learn a lot in life and learn about discipline, and really gave me the foundation to do everything else I'm doing right now.
That's amazing.
Well, I want to thank you for those 4 years.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What was the catalyst for you to become a musician and get into this industry, this field? And
Sure.
how young were you? Like who influenced you? And
Well, so I've always been naturally drawn to music, and back when I was a kid, like 4 or 5 years old, I would, as my late mother would say, I would bang on the piano, which I'm sure, she had plenty of headaches from that and all kinds of, sequestering herself in her room for the night. But, I got interested a little bit older. There was a kid down the street that had an acoustic guitar, and I really dug that. And when I got into junior high and high school, I started, playing trumpet in the band, and I figured out that playing in the band with chicks in the band was a lot better than being a sweaty football player right at the back of a bus full of guys, playing football. But I really liked expressing myself through music, because I did go through a phase where I played sports for a little while, but I was much more drawn to the musical side. And when I was about, about 18 or so, a buddy let me borrow his Les Paul and a big old custom amp for a couple of days, and I went out in the backyard and got the cops called on me, turning that sucker up. And from then I was kind of hooked after that. But I didn't really get serious about it until actually when I was in the Air Force. I started a band with a few buddies, and we started playing cover gigs at the NCO club and the officers club on our base. I was stationed at Barksdale in Louisiana. And then got out and played in a couple of other really, really crappy bands. And eventually, through my career, I ended up going into technology and the music business later. But I think the moment that actually drove me to, there was two distinct times in my life where I really decided I wanted to do this. One was a 1979 concert with Boston, and with Sammy Hagar opened for him. It was the Don't Look Back tour, and they were just phenomenal. And I was don't tell anybody how old I am, but I was a junior in high school at the time, maybe a senior, and my journalism teacher knew that I loved Boston. I mean, I was so ate up with Boston that was my nickname in high school. My nickname was Boston. Brad Delp, I mean, just the voice of an angel,
Oh, yeah.
And she asked me if I wanted to go to the concert and cover it, for the school paper. And I was like, well, hell yeah, I want to go to that and cover it, be crazy. So I went, and I took my little girlfriend with me at the time, and we ended up, it was almost like a scene from Jukebox Hero. They're sound checking during the day, and we found an unlocked door and snuck in and watched them sound check. And it was, I'll still, to this day, remember exactly how it sounded with a completely empty arena. These guys warming up and playing Don't Look Back, and Tom Schultz had his specs on, it was just really cool. And we ended up going to the show, and they had a designated press area that was kind of to the side of the stage up in the bleachers, and that sucked. So we're kids, and we kept jumping over the little rail and going down to the floor, right, in what you would call a pit now. And we got thrown out about 3 times and got sent back to the press box. And the 4th time the lady comes up to us, I'm thinking like, okay, we're going to get thrown out now. And instead she said, hey, do you want to go to the press conference? I'm like, well, hell yeah, I want to go to the press conference. So I ended up getting, as a young punk, to interview Brad Delp and Tom Schultz backstage. And that was it. I'm like, oh man, this is incredible. And from that moment, I really knew that I wanted to do something in music, but I knew at that age I couldn't really, I couldn't do anything with it until later. And life got in the way to a certain extent with my career and everything. But then later on, when I'd gotten out of the Air Force and moved back to East Texas, where my mother was, my buddy had recently moved to Houston, and he said, man, you've got to come down and check out this scene. It's incredible. So I jumped in my car and I drove down to Houston. I spent a weekend with him, and he took me around to a few different places. And I'd lived in smaller towns most of my life. I'd never been in a city with 4 million people, and this blew me away. And I went into a little pub with him that was called the Pig and Whistle Pub, and it was just, the bar was on fire, man. The place was packed, and they had this band that was in there, and I think they were original and a few covers, but they kind of reminded me of the Beatles, but kind of on steroids. But people were on the dance floor, they were packed, there were people dancing on the bar, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is absolutely, I have to do this. And went back home. I'm serious, man. I went back home. Literally, I had a business at the time. I sold the business that I had. And 2 weeks later, I moved to Houston, and within probably 2 to 3 months after that, I started my first band in Houston, and the rest is history. I've been pretty much.
It sounds like you saw the knack in that bar.
it was kind of like that, they were really, really good. It would have been about it would have been about 10 years too late for them, but it was really incredible. I really started finding my musical self, if you will, through the late 80s or early 90s. So I was really happy to have the White Snakes and the, and all the other classic hair bands or whatever you want to call them. But I also was really excited about Allison Chains and some of the other bands that started coming up in the early 90s, and even bands like the Gin Blossoms and the Goo Goo Dolls. Just the sounds from that whole era was really, really influencing to me in terms of melody and just being able to rock out, and really kind of helped formulate eventually what we would do, if that makes sense.
To back up about 5 minutes in your conversation, you're talking about Boston and what a big push that seeing them gave you.
Oh, yeah.
We lost Brad Delp to suicide.
Yeah, and it's absolutely devastating. I remember the day that happened. I remember what I was doing, and I heard it, and my heart just stopped, and felt the tears well up. That guy was probably the most influential, at least for me, wanting to be a vocalist, and just devastating. And you don't know people are going through that kind of depression. And of course, Chester Bennington, we lost him, and just so many great artists. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. I was listening to the new song. I was listening actually to the new EP as well as some of your older stuff.
Oh Lord, I'm sorry.
From No Control, I heard it didn't sound like Cheap Trick, but it had the power pop of a Cheap Trick. So
I'll take that.
I'm not saying I hate comparing, but I'm trying to find a parallel. And the lead guitar is just fantastic, but I heard the power pop from Someday.
Oh,
But
thank
then
you.
when you go to the new album, the new EP, I hear more like a dark sound, heavier, maybe smithereens. Again, the powerful guitar, great leads. I hear great harmony vocals and Don't
Thank
Give
you.
Up.
Thank you.
Is there a change from album to album, or just natural evolution back
I
and
think it's
forth?
I think it's natural evolution. I mean, some of the songs, even on this EP, I wrote a long time ago, but I knew the direction that I kind of wanted to go to. If you listen to Rutherford Drive, which is the one we put out last year, and the bonus track on that, that's probably one of the lighter songs that I've done. But I also was thinking at the time, I was like, okay, look, I want to tell a story, and it was well, it's not semi, but it's actually autobiographical story. But I wanted to get that out. I think people will relate to it and start building an audience. And then when this EP came around, I knew I was going to put more meat on it and have a lot more darker in some respects and definitely heavier in every other respect.
Well, I heard the heaviness, but I also, not knowing the lyrics word for word, there's definitely storytelling going on, and it's deep. I want to get to know it better, and we're going to be playing it on our station. It'll be in rotation. So,
Thank you.
I really endorse what you're doing, and I like it. I urge everyone to check your music out.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I'm one of these weird guys that for a song, it takes a long time for me to write one. It's not like I can crank out 20 songs in a week like the Black Crowes or somebody can. But it comes over time, and it may be, I haven't written a song in a long time, but then something will inspire me and I'll sit down and write the whole song in, 15 minutes. But it's just these big, long intervals, in between. So I'm really happy that you guys like it, and I hope it touches people the same way.
Fantastic.
Absolutely will.
How many albums or collections do you have out?
So I did one record way back in '95 that was kind of the starter record, and I was new to producing and all that kind of stuff, and so I don't really consider that anything that I've really done commercially. It probably really started with that No Control record that we did, and then I put out a couple of singles here and there over time, and then this EP is the newest work, so really not that much, and I've got more in the can.
So I was wondering if I missed a lot, but I've actually been getting a good sampling of your work. I really enjoy it.
Well, I'm a late bloomer, so
Aren't we
Late
all?
than never.
better late. The way I look at it is like, look, if you have a good song and it's good songwriting, I don't think the industry really cares how old you are, what you look like anymore.
Good music is good music.
Yeah, and I'm still gonna get my skinny butt up on the stage and rock people's asses off, and that's the goal anyway.
Zach,
Well,
how have you
honestly-
been? How have you been handling the COVID? I mean, I would imagine that during the lockdown, a lot of artists it would spark a lot of creativity.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened with me. When the pandemic hit, I'd already been thinking about doing the EP, and the time opened up with Skid up in Nashville. And I turned the time that I would ordinarily be twiddling my thumbs because, my other life, we go record major artists like Rob Thomas is one of my clients, and we were set to do Matchbox 20 this summer. And obviously that's not happening.
Right.
So it really, I think it's true with me and a lot of other musicians. It gave us plenty of time on our hands to do creative things. And I think probably as the year goes on, we're going to see a lot of that starting to hit. I mean, a lot of it already has actually. So I'm thrilled about it. I think it really opened up a channel for creativity.
Fantastic. When our listeners hear your music on our station, where can they find information about you?
Absolutely. So they can go to my main website, which is zachbairmusic.com, and that's ZACHBAIR music.com. And they can also obviously visit all the ridiculous number of social channels. And it's Zach Bair Official, ZACHBAIR Official on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and then ZBair Official on Twitter. And then, of course, if you want to buy the stuff, or stream it, which I hope you do, buying it, actually, we make a little bit more money. You can get it on iTunes, or you can Spotify, or a dozen, if not more, other digital outlets, and we're planning on doing a physical release at some point in the near future of the EP, but that'll probably be later in the year.
Great. Make sure Carlo gets a signed one. He goes crazy over his signed merchandise.
I will definitely do that.
Yeah. But is there anything I missed? Because I urge everybody, pick it up. 20%'s going to such a wonderful cause.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, it
I
is an
appreciate
important
it.
cause. We're doing a benefit show at one of the venues that I own in Memphis on October 10th that will be benefiting that organization, and that'll be the first show we've played in some time. So if anybody hears this broadcast and they're in the area, sees the broadcast, you can come. Just don't tape us because we're probably going to suck. I'm just saying.
Oh, stop.
That's what's great about
Are you in
benefits.
Nashville?
It's
What's
not
that?
about us. It's about the cause.
Yes,
Absolutely. There you go. There we
Zach,
go.
are you in Nashville or you're in Tennessee or?
I'm in Tennessee. I'm Memphis right now, but I'm in Nashville quite a bit, do the recording and things like that. And for my job, I'm really scattered all over the place. Our offices are in New York City, but I'm frequently in.
You don't want to go
Florida.
there. Believe me, stay out of New York. It's
I know.
starting to spike again over there. It's crazy what they're doing in New York.
Where are you guys?
We're in Jersey.
Okay.
Jersey's not that bad. It's starting to loosen up, but
Yeah.
in New York, though, Zach,
Carlo, you
oh
haven't
my
heard
God.
about Lakewood?
Well, Lakewood, yeah, that's always been a
Yeah,
recurring
but that's
problem.
over by your station there.
Yeah, there's they're convening, doing weddings with 200-300 people in New York.
my
They
Lord.
just don't get it in New York. Now they're starting to get clusters again of a resurgence. It's like I don't understand.
Dude, they opened up the entire state of Florida, opened up all the bars and everything. I'm like, are you out of your mind? It's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be bad.
Well, you know what is scary, Zach, is now when this thing first hit, you could see if somebody had it. Now you don't even know who's carrying
don't
it
know.
because it's so like undercover now because people could be carrying it and not know it. Like the strain is not as much, but all right, it's not going to kill you, but you don't want, they just opened up the schools in New Jersey. Now they're going back to like the remote learning because now there was 2 kids that tested positive in this school, 1 kid over here. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, my one of my colleagues in venue, he lives in Connecticut, and he was telling me that his kids started going back, but then I think they had to stop because there's like 12 or 13 kids that tested positive. Already. It's going to blow up.
Yeah, but it's like just like we're doing now on the Zoom. We're all in a different place and talking. I mean, this whole pandemic has opened up
Silver
different
lining.
ways of approaching everything.
Yeah, I think it's it's bad, of course, but I think the silver lining is the fact that a lot of people have been able to come together like this. I mean, dude, I can count on one hand and probably 3 fingers how many times I've done a Zoom meeting before the pandemic hit.
Us too.
Right.
We're
This is
learning,
going to be the
right?
new thing now. This is going to
Yeah.
be the new medium. And, like you said, that's one of the few positives that came out of this virus is that, like, so people come together, these workers, how they support the essential workers and,
Yep.
and our servicemen and women. And, I think that, for people who want to write society off, I think a lot of people stepped up for this, and I'm glad to see that. And,
Me too.
and music and all entertainment, we need it now more than ever because I think I've watched everything I possibly can on Netflix.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, I know, me too. And binge watching on top of that.
yeah, so just to let you know that music right now is going to go places that the medicine can't. So it's more important now than ever. So keep doing what you're doing.
I think so too. And like I said, at some point we really want to go out and play for our military brothers and sisters, no matter where they are. I mean, I'll go anywhere. I don't care. I remember back in the day when I played in my really crappy band at the NCO club, and it was a blast. And the military people really, really appreciate it. I think, especially if you go out of your way to give them a good show and rock out.
Absolutely. But Steve, you want to finish up?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but he talked about bringing out a Les Paul and a custom amplifier and the police showing up at his house.
Oh yeah.
I have the same story. I have the same story. It was a custom amp. It was actually Emmons. You remember Buddy Emmons, the pedal
Oh, yeah.
steel? guitar player. I had a Buddy Emmons custom amp directly
That's awesome.
from him. And I had a Gibson SG. And we brought it in my yard, and my buddy and I, we really didn't know how to play, but we turned it up to 10.
That's what I did.
And hit a power chord. The lady down the block said I knocked her off the toilet. But it was the same story as yours.
Oh,
And the cops did come.
I thought you were going to
dude.
tell the story of how you burned your hand on the coffee pot in 7-Eleven.
That didn't happen. I don't remember anything about that.
Oh my God. No, that was epic though. I mean, it really was. I had no idea what I was doing. It's just exactly the same. And I was just trying to play a few chords here and there. And this big old 412 cabinet, huge head on top of it. I know it was screaming 100 watts or something. I turned that sucker all the way up, man. And it wasn't 5 minutes before the cop showed up. It was no time at all.
Oh, wow.
It was like, it was epic. Yeah.
If it's too loud, you're too old.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say? What?
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add, Zach?
Say
Did we
what?
cover
Say
everything?
Put
Is
out
there
your-
anything we
Yeah, I
missed?
mean, look, you guys are awesome, and I love chatting with you, and really appreciate the opportunity to come on the show.
When you're in the area, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, after the pandemic, let us know.
Yes.
I mean,
I would
All right.
love to come by and see you guys. Like I said, our offices in the city are 29th and 6th, and I fly into Newark sometimes, and I fly into LaGuardia, whoever, but I'd love to come by and see you guys.
Yeah, I would like
Excellent.
to, I've never been to Tennessee. I'm dying to go to Memphis and Nashville. I'll tell you what, though, Zach, Nashville has become the it city over the past 10 years.
Amazing.
It's not just a Grand Ole Opry anymore. It's anybody who's anybody's living out there.
You would be surprised how many, what I'll call my long-haired brothers from the day, live up in Nashville now. And
yeah.
I love it. It's a great scene. The resources there are great, and it's beautiful. Great food everywhere. Yeah, can't be.
now it's easy to get the country guys on the hard rock guys' albums. You got Travis Tritt playing with Alice Cooper in the studio, and it's just everybody's there.
And the musicianship in the studio. Oh my Lord, it's just off the chain. It's crazy.
We
The
got
talent
people
there.
playing with William Shatner on his album.
yeah, I know, right?
So put out your social media again, Zach, and where they can buy the new album.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So website is zachbairmusic.com. That's ZACHBAIR music.com. The social media on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram are all Zach Bair Official. That's ZACHBAIR Official. And Twitter is ZBair Official. And then you can get the music on Spotify, on iTunes Music or iTunes. You can get it on every other possible
Platform,
ridiculous
yeah.
digital platform out there.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage you to do so. At 20% of every sale or download, every download or stream of Ordinary Girl and or the EP will go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
That's amazing. That's great. And you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Pleasure meeting you, Zach.
Pleasure meeting
Absolutely.
you as well. And thank you so much again for the opportunity to come on the show.
Absolutely. You have an open door anytime, my friend. And
Awesome,
continued
brother.
success. And please, if you're going to Newark or New York, stay safe because it's a nightmare.
I'll get a bubble. I'll be good.
But make sure you check out Zach Bair Music. Zach, thank you so much. And we'll talk again. Definitely.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks a lot. Have a good one now.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thank you.
Cheers.